So let's talk about the Earth's atmosphere. Yesterday we talked about the water cycle. Um, Now we're talking about the atmosphere. What is the atmosphere? You do not have to write this down. The thin layer of air, gas, that forms a protective covering around the Earth. So without the atmosphere, we would, because of where the sun is located, we could burn up some days or we could freeze, depending on how the Earth rotated. Uh, and there would not be life on this planet without an atmosphere. Because it write these down so we avoid extreme temperatures because of it. Um, like I just said, it gives us protection from the UV rays. Um, it also protects us from different elements that are fallen from the solar system. It could be a rock, it could be that, it could be multiple things, but our atmosphere protects us to an extent from that, and it provides life. So the makeup of the atmosphere, um, Earth's early atmosphere got created with, you do not have to write this down. with volcanoes erupting, which contain nitrogen, CO2, very little oxygen. So the organisms or life, for people who don't know what organisms are, what was around is what was the start, and they did not look like the creatures of today. And they were not as big as creatures of today. Um, so, with that, it created an ozone layer, which still protects us today. Um, and there's the breakdown of how much nitrogen, oxygen, and other traces of different elements. This is also a breakdown of what else is also in the atmosphere. These are the stuff that you just can't see. You will can't see oxygen or nitrogen or carbon dioxide. You can't see that stuff. So as you see this graphic right here, this is the different stages of the atmosphere. As you can see, we are at the very bottom. You see how small that is versus the other sections of the atmosphere. If you become an astronaut, you will have to go through every single one of these. Um, the trophosphere is the lowest layer we live in it. This is where majority of every living thing in this contains 80% of the total mass of, like, with all the stuff that's going on, majority of the mass of gas is at this level. Um, Airplanes fly within this level. Weather is created. The higher you go through the different spheres, the colder it gets. So I would write down the this first and second bullet point and the last the stratosphere. So it's below the troposphere. This is mainly the ozone. Weather balloons fly up there. Very, very few things are up there. Um, it absorbs dangerous UV rays. Um, Jet streams occur. So I would definitely write down that is the ozone layer. Um, and we will go more into the stratosphere in the next slide. So make sure that you write down that it's the ozone layer. So the ozone layer is within the stratosphere. That talks about the kilometers, talks about how big it is. For that's as of right now, it's not important. The ozone layer makes sure that it absorbs and protects us from the UV rays from the sun. Um, so when if you decide to do any type of activity during the summertime, it's good, period, to make sure that you have sunblock on. But if you have a lighter melanin going on in your skin, you want to make sure that you put sunblock on, especially that protects from UV rays, because you definitely do not want skin cancer or your tissues to be damaged to the point to where you don't have it, but you have destroyed your tissue just by laying out in the sun. That also goes for a tanning bed. Staying in the tanning bed for long periods of time will damage your skin. So writing, bullets. The last three bullets are would be the most important, where it is made up of three oxygen atoms. That's why you see the big O, because oxygen is O on the periodic table. And then you see that little three, and that means that there are three oxygen atoms. Um, you will go into this a lot more deeper when you get in eighth grade. Um, these are different things that have, and you don't have to copy this down, but with different pollutants, um, and different things that we have made as humans, we have started destroying the ozone layer, and we have been for years putting a hole in it. So with that hole, that means more of those UV rays and stuff is coming in because of it. And this is why when I was a kid, it was called global warming. Now the technical science term is climate change. Um, so you will go into greater detail into climate change next year, but we're not today. So you don't have to copy that down. Fantastic graph, picture-ish. So UV radiation. When the ozone layer is destroyed, um, this is where we said it was cause skin cancer and stuff like this. It weakens your immune system. There's a lot of, and you do not have to copy this down, but there's a lot of effects to destroying the ozone layer. And that is why you see environmentalists working very, very hard to make sure that they're, you know, going after different pollutants to make sure that the water's clean, that we're putting more plants on Earth to soak up the carbon dioxide that we are putting out with cars, with stuff with emissions coming from our houses, different factories, and other companies. So, with the biggest pollutants are, and you do not have to write this down. Um, these are the effects of what will happen in the troposphere if the ozone layer completely the hole starts to get bigger. Um, so I know that there's estimates by 2060 something that the hole will close or will be close enough to close if we start cutting in on CO2 emissions and doing more conservation. But with the political headwinds, I don't see that happening as of right now. I see little effects, not huge ones to make up for it. But cutting down trees is one of the big, like cutting out the Amazon rainforest. When we are expanding highways and neighborhoods, when the neighborhoods get put back up, we don't put no more trees in its place. Like that could help close the hole, but we're not doing it, sadly. So hopefully when you buy a house, you do put a couple trees out. You try to plant flowers and different shrubs to get the CO2 levels down and do your part. So this is what I was talking about by 2065, that it should correct itself from with us doing what we were supposed to. You do not have to write this down, um, but we will see if this happens because China, India are the two biggest polluters um, besides us currently right now. So it's going to take a lot of work. There's another graphic to show what it looks like and what's going on in the different spheres, which we talked about the ozone layer. So the stratosphere, 24% of it is the ozone layer, which I had no idea. Did not know that. The mesosphere has shooting stars that burn out. And as you see the black lines, that's the separation. Um, the thermosphere, that's the largest temperature fluctuation. and the biggest one out of it. That's where the satellites are just floating around, um, close to the space station. I think the space station's in it, or right close to it. The exosphere, which that is way, way, way. That's a little bit farther out, just a tad bit, but you don't have to write those down. Anything from the graphic, but the mesosphere, as I said, most fallen stars, which are meteorites, burn up in this layer, which is a good thing. That means that it does not get to us, especially the big particles. Um, the coldest temperature is negative 90 degrees Celsius, which is severely cold. The air is extremely thin because there's really no oxygen up that way. So it would be definitely hard to breathe unless you have some suit. That's why the astronauts, when they take off, they're wearing their helmets and they have oxygen flowing in it because there's really nothing in between there, period. Um, so make sure that you write bullet 1 and 3 and 4. Thermosphere, the air gets super thin the higher you go up. The temperature is sensitive to solar activity, so it fluctuates. So it gets hotter the higher you go up when you get in that sphere. So in between the other ones, it gets really, really cold. But in this one, it gets hotter. Um, this is where the gamma and the X rays are absorbed. So we talked about those when we talked about lights and electromagnetic waves. Um, so as you see in this picture right here, it's what we call the northern lights. So if you are definitely in the northern part of Alaska, definitely in the northern part of Greenland, and in Canada, you will see the northern lights perfect. Um, it's a beautiful phenomenon um, that goes on, but I did not know that it was created in the thermosphere. Um, so write down the second bullet, third bullet, and that's it. So second and third bullet. Badass.
What were you saying?
Oh, watch this. Hold on, I gotta record this real quick. So make sure on the exosphere, it is the most outer layer. So make sure you write that. The region where atoms and molecules escape into space. Because where there's no, I'm recording the lesson for tomorrow. And the air is super thin, basically. So this is where your space shuttle, satellite, space station. This is the outermost sphere. So make sure that you write down bullet one, two, and three. And after this, you are done.